Manchester, a city with a rich tapestry of history and modernity intertwined, a city bursting with life, where the streets are always alive with the hustle and bustle of people from all walks of life. From the early morning commuters to the late-night revelers, Manchester never sleeps. A center of industry and culture, Manchester has long been a beacon of innovation and creativity. Its industrial buildings stand as monuments to a bygone era, while its cultural landmarks like museums and theaters continue to inspire and educate. The powerhouse of the North, Manchester's skyline is a testament to its growth and ambition. Iconic buildings like the Beetham Tower pierce the sky, symbolizing the city's relentless drive towards progress. But take a closer look. Amidst the grandeur and the ceaseless activity, there lies a different story, one that is often overlooked. See those shiny modern buildings? They are the face of a city that is constantly evolving, always looking forward. Yet they also cast long shadows over the lives of many. They stand tall, reminding us of our proud industrial past. The juxtaposition of old and new architecture tells a story of resilience and transformation. But there's another side to this story, a side that is often hidden in plain sight, overshadowed by the city's gleaming facade, a side we often miss. As we go about our daily lives, it's easy to overlook the struggles of those who live on the margins. It's a story you can see on the faces of those who have to live on the streets. Each face tells a tale of hardship, of dreams deferred, and of a society that has in many ways failed them. Walk down busy Market Street full of shoppers and tourists. The energy is palpable, the excitement infectious. Yet amidst this vibrancy, you might see someone asking for spare change. A stark reminder of the inequality that exists within the city. Look past the bright lights of Deansgate, the nightlife, the traffic, the constant motion. It all paints a picture of prosperity. But if you look closely, you'll see a cardboard shelter hidden in a doorway. The difference is striking, a jarring contrast to the city's outward appearance. It reminds us that behind the city's energy, many people face a harsh reality. A reality that is often ignored, but one that demands our attention and action. This is Manchester, a city wrestling with a growing problem: homelessness. As we celebrate its achievements and look forward to its future, we must also confront the challenges that lie beneath its surface. Only then can we truly understand the full story of this remarkable city. Who are the homeless? When we think of homelessness, we often picture a faceless crowd, a statistic in a report. But behind every number, there is a human being with a unique story, a past, and a hope for the future. They're not just numbers on a page. These statistics represent real people, each with their own struggles and dreams. They are individuals who have faced unimaginable hardships and are often overlooked by society. They are people with stories of resilience, of battles fought and sometimes lost. They are our neighbors, our friends, and our family members. Each one has a name, a face, and a voice that deserves to be heard. Each one pushed to the edge by things they often can't control. Economic downturns, health crises, and personal tragedies can all contribute to someone losing their home. It's a complex issue with no single cause or solution. There's John, who worked in a factory. He was a dedicated employee for over 20 years. But when the factory closed down, he found himself without a job and soon after, without a home. He lost his job, then his home. The loss of stability and security can be devastating, leading to a downward spiral that is hard to escape from. There's Sarah, running from an abusive partner with nowhere safe to go. She had to make the heart-wrenching decision to leave everything behind to protect herself and her child. And there's David, fighting addiction, his life falling apart. Addiction is both a cause and a consequence of homelessness, creating a vicious cycle that is difficult to break. Homelessness doesn't pick who it affects. It can happen to anyone, regardless of age, gender, or background. It is a universal issue that requires a compassionate and comprehensive approach. It affects young and old, men and women, families, and single people. The face of homelessness is diverse, and each person's experience is unique. It's important to remember that every number represents a person, someone who has faced challenges that many of us can't even imagine. They deserve our empathy and support, someone who deserves respect and help. By understanding their stories and recognizing their humanity, we can begin to break down the stereotypes and work towards meaningful solutions. Manchester is growing fast. The city is undergoing a transformation, with new developments springing up at an unprecedented rate. This rapid growth is evident in the skyline, which is constantly evolving with the addition of new high-rise buildings and modern architectural marvels. New buildings pop up everywhere, changing the city. Construction cranes dominate the horizon, symbolizing progress and economic growth. These new structures promise to bring in more businesses, more jobs, and more opportunities for the residents of Manchester. But this progress has a downside. The rising cost of living, especially rent, is pushing out people with low incomes. As new upscale apartments and commercial spaces replace older buildings, the character of neighborhoods changes, often making them unaffordable for longtime residents. Improving some areas can force vulnerable people out of their homes. The process of gentrification, while beneficial in some aspects, often leads to the displacement of those who can no longer afford to live in their own communities. Boarded-up homes and eviction notices are becoming more common sights. As neighborhoods get fancier, rents go up and people who can't afford it have to leave. The juxtaposition of luxury apartments next to run-down buildings highlights the growing divide between the wealthy and the poor. This economic disparity is becoming more pronounced with each new development. Many end up in unstable housing, just one missed paycheck away from homelessness. The lack of affordable housing options means that even those who are employed can find themselves in precarious living situations. Temporary shelters are often the only refuge for those who have been displaced. It's really hard to find affordable housing. The competition for rental properties is fierce, with many people vying for the same limited number of affordable units. This high demand drives prices even higher, making it nearly impossible for low-income families to secure a place to live. The lack of social housing leaves many with nowhere to go. Abandoned council estates and long queues at housing assistance offices are stark reminders of the housing crisis. The shortage of social housing means that many people are left without a safety net, struggling to find a stable place to call home. The result? More people end up living on the streets. The increase in homelessness is a direct consequence of the lack of affordable housing and social support. Volunteers and charitable organizations do their best to provide for those in need, but the problem continues to grow, highlighting the urgent need for comprehensive solutions to address urban displacement. Homelessness, addiction, and mental health are all connected in a complicated way. It's not a simple A causes B, but more like a downward spiral. Imagine being homeless. The trauma, the loneliness, the lack of support, it can be too much. Some people turn to drugs or alcohol to cope, to numb the pain. For others, mental health problems they already had get worse because of the stress of living on the streets. Without a safe and stable place to live, getting health care and support is incredibly difficult. When temperatures drop, the homelessness crisis becomes impossible to ignore. Winter shelters offer a critical lifeline, a warm bed and a hot meal during the coldest months. But these shelters are only temporary. They are often packed with little privacy or support. And when spring arrives, those who depended on them are back on the streets, facing the same problems. Winter shelters help, but they show how much we need long-term solutions. Solutions that fix the root causes of homelessness and offer a way out. Even with all the hardship, there are signs of hope. Projects like the Purple Bus, a mobile support unit run by volunteers, are making a real difference. The Purple Bus helps people experiencing homelessness, offering hot meals, warm clothes, medical care, and advice. It's a lifeline, offering not just essential things but also human connection and kindness. The Purple Bus shows what communities can do. It shows that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference, giving hope and support to those who need it most. The reasons behind homelessness go deep, connected to bigger problems like poverty and inequality. The economy plays a big role in this crisis. The cost of living is going up, but many people's wages aren't. Zero-hours contracts don't offer any security, making people vulnerable to sudden changes in income. Benefits cuts make things even harder for those already struggling. The gap between the rich and the poor keeps growing. As a society, we have to fix these bigger problems if we really want to tackle homelessness. We often don't see the mental health crisis among homeless people, but it's very real. The trauma of living on the streets leaves deep emotional wounds. Anxiety, depression, and PTSD are common. The constant fight for survival, the lack of safety, the loneliness, all these things damage mental well-being. Getting mental health services is a huge challenge for those without a permanent address. The stigma around homelessness and mental illness makes it even harder for people to ask for help. The homelessness crisis in Manchester is complicated, but we can solve it. There are solutions, but we all need to work together: policymakers, organizations, and everyday people. Affordable housing is key. We need more social housing to help those at risk. We have to invest in mental health services, making sure people can get the help they need. We need to help people get off the streets. This means job training and support to help them rebuild their lives. It means fixing the root causes of poverty and inequality. Seeing someone sleeping on the streets of our city should bother us all. It reminds us that we can and we must do better. This isn't just about giving someone a place to sleep for one night, it's about building a society where everyone has a chance to succeed. A society built on compassion, empathy, and fairness. Manchester, we are a city known for our strength, our creativity, our spirit. Let's use that spirit to take action. Let's work together to create a future where no one has to live on the streets.